So with the idea of jihad and kill the infidels, can you kind of give some feedback on perspective on that?
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, my name is David and welcome to the first episode of Christians Ask Muslims.
So my name is Tracy. I am a convert to Islam actually. I converted about 8 years ago now. I grew up in an interfaith home, multicultural home. Through learning about Islam, I found a liking to it, I should say. It's just something that really spoke to me on a personal level.
Today we're going to be talking about a hot button topic of jihad. There's two main reasons why. As we're talking about topics that we could discuss for our first episode, we decided to kind of land on jihad. And I think one reason is because for a lot of folks, this is the elephant in the room, maybe on the back of their minds or maybe on the front of their minds, where they're saying, hey, I'm not sure how comfortable I feel connecting with Muslims. Maybe sometimes even how safe I feel connecting with Muslims, because every time there's a news item of another terrorist attack or someone saying Allah Akbar before they blow themselves up, it's just a barrier that folks have. That kind of leads to the second reason, which is that if there's an elephant in the room and you do want to connect with Muslims in your community, the best thing to do is just to ask about it. So this isn't my first time asking a Muslim about their take on jihad. So, just from personal experience or personal perspective and opinion, what does jihad mean to you?
Sure. So, and I'll kind of jump on a piggyback on your point here is, I do there's so many Muslims, there's 1.3 billion now, and everyone through my experience, through my conversion experience, trying to learn about the religion and talk to other people about it, everyone has their own perspective. So a terrorist committing an act of jihad is based on their perspective of what that means. And it happens to be really extreme from my perspective, whereas my perspective also might differ slightly from others. So I want to preface that I'm, just one personal perspective on this topic. So jihad, the way I understood it in the Quran, actually literally translates to a struggle or to like this internal conflict that you have with yourself. So waging jihad actually means trying to either stand up for myself, it's trying to go against the temptation of sin, if you will. It's more of an internal process that you end up showing externally. The belief is that it all starts with ourselves, and it's not about waging some holy war against, some badly labeled, stereotypes. It really is more about yourself. So again, literal translation is a struggle. It mainly is an internal struggle.
So if we were to ask a follow-up question, if you're like the Muslims that you know in our city, would most of them take that same perspective on jihad?
I personally don't know any really extreme or fundamental Muslims who take that into a literal action of waging some type of holy war, as they call it, as a lot of terrorists, I think, that I've heard would call it. But yeah, girls I know that, for example, they chose to wear a headscarf. That to them, if they get, feedback from their peers at school, people making fun of them, it is them waging jihad to stay strong and to support their own decision in doing that. That is a form of jihad for some girls I know that, tried to wear the headscarf. Or standing up for someone else, in a case where someone was being teased. And it doesn't even have to be about a religion, standing up for that person, helping them is another form of practicing jihad. So as far as the community here, I would say that is the main consensus. And when I would attend a mosque to hear different sermons, that is how it was always explained to me as well.
Cool. And when I've asked other Muslims on the same topic, they've given me the same types of feedback. So just to clarify, if wearing a headscarf or standing up for someone who's being teased is a form of jihad, that's not in a context or a broader context of violence.
Right. Yeah, jihad actually the Quran like really explicitly like wants you to avoid violence at all costs possible. The only time it's allowed is if like someone was like about to stab me, like I'm allowed to defend myself. And if in the process I accidentally like hurt somebody, like it's okay. The concept is that if you can kind of reflect on your own actions, reflect on your own beliefs, you know, come to terms with those inner demons you might have, or, you know, coming to terms with the temptations you have, and trying to use your self-reflection to overcome that, you have just waged the greatest form of jihad. So if we all kind of start with jihad as like this inner reflection of ourselves, then I do think the output is peaceful.
Cool. So thanks for explaining your perspective on that. I think probably the only verse of the Quran that lots of folks would know in regards especially to jihad is this kill the infidels command apparently that Islam teaches for Muslims. And so with the idea of jihad and kill the infidels, can you kind of give some feedback or perspective on that?
Absolutely. So that is one out of many verses in the Quran that I feel like atheists, people that don't like Islam, and terrorists themselves all like to refer to. The verse where it says kill all infidels actually refers to a time when Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, had a lot of his people, they were traveling, they were in Medina, and they were granted basically like safe like refuge for the time being while they stopped and camped out by people that were of other faiths, mainly like polytheists that were living at the time. And what happened was the other people that granted the Prophet Muhammad and his people safe passage actually broke that. And during the night, they started attacking him and his followers. So one of his followers actually yelled that out because those at the time being were the enemies. And that I can see, if you cherry pick that verse, of course you're going to get some message that could mean so many different things. It literally has been translated to, oh, just kill people who aren't the same as you, which is not at all if you refer to the context of why that was actually said. And another thing that I feel like terrorists or people kind of forget to read is if you keep reading this story, there becomes a little set of rules that happen during warfare. And so in this same scenario, you have God or the Quran actually instructing. So again, yes, if someone is attacking you, you're allowed to defend yourself. But during this time, you are not allowed to burn down any churches, any synagogues, any places of worship. You're not allowed to take slaves. You're not allowed to kill women or children. And even if this person is your enemy, and it like says this, if that person decides to surrender, you can't touch him. So it's very interesting, you know, sometimes when I hear some of the things that go on, some of the things that ISIS or a lot of really fundamental, extreme and violent, you know, Muslims like claim that they're justified in doing this because of that verse. Sometimes I'm like, oh, did you read the next paragraph? You know, because it, you know, then you're actually in the wrong for doing what you did. As a convert, I got a lot of questions like this, where it's like, well, what about that? And what about that? It says this and it says that. And like, once you get through everything, you get through the stories and you figure out the moral of that story or the principle of that story, it's really hard to make it as violent as I think a lot of people either try to portray it or try to use it.
So, I mean, just to review or clarify on that, the whole kill the infidels is part of a historic story,
yes,
and not so much of a command for Muslims to obey today.
Right,
okay.
Right. And
that's really
again,
helpful.
just because, you know, it says if you must engage, you know, in warfare, you have all those parameters.
Okay, thank you to Tracy for being here with us today, especially with such a hot button topic there. And I hope that's been helpful for folks as they try to wrestle through my neighbor and jihad, or my coworker and jihad, and how comfortable I can feel connecting with them, or even just asking them the question, say, what's your take on jihad? So hey everyone, if you can say thank you in the comments to Tracy for being here with us today, and we'll catch you all next time.